Hello, welcome to my junior sub. My name is Ismail Rewan Abiodun. This is the part 2 of the video I did on loss of indices. If you have not seen the part 1 of this video, the link is in the description of this video. In this video, I'll be explaining the zero law of indices, negative powers, and root law. What do I mean by let's start with zero law of indices. Okay, let's consider 10 raised power of 3 over 10 raised power of 3. If you look at this expression, you can easily divide 10 raised power of 3 by the 10 raised power of 3, which is obviously equal to what? 1. But if you use the quotient or division law of indices, remember, when you have the same base being divided, you simply subtract the powers. That is, 10 raised power of 3 divided by 10 raised power of 3 will equal to 10 raised power of 3 minus 3, that is, you keep the base and subtract the powers, which equals to 10 raised power of 0. In that case, if 10 raised power of 3 divided by 10 raised power of 3 equals to 1, and also the same 10 raised power of 3 and over 10 raised power of 3 also equals to 10 raised power of 0. Therefore, we can say that 10 raised power of 0 equal to 1. So generally, if you have any base raised power of 0 is always equal to 1. Please take note. Any variable raised power of 0 is equal to 1 except 0. A cannot be equal to 0. Please take note. A cannot be equal to 0. But any other number raised power of 0 equal to 1. For example, if you have 2 raised power of 0 is 1. 100 raised power of 0 is also 1. Meaning that whatever you have raised power of 0 except 0 is equal to 1. A raised power of 0 is 1. 2 raised power of 0 is 1. 100 raised power of 0 is 1. Y raised power of 0 is also equal to 1. 1 million raised power of 0 equal to 1, and so on and so forth. Please, anything raised power of 0 equal to 1, but A cannot be equal to 0. Now let's come to negative power. If you see all the examples or the indices that we have been dealing with all this while, you will notice that they all have positive powers. But there are some situations whereby you have indices with negative powers. So let's consider this expression: 3 raised power of 3 divided by 3 raised power of 5. We can say that this can be expressed as 3, if you expand it, 3 times 3 times 3 all over 3 raised power of 5 can be expressed as 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, isn't it? Okay. By division, this 3 can divide this 3. Also, this 3 can divide this 3. This can divide this 3. If you look at it, at the numerator we have 1 all over 3 times 3, which equal to 1 over 3 raised to the power of 2. If you convert the denominator back to index form, so we have 3 times 3 equals to what? 3 raised to the power of 2. Now, using the quotient law of indices to solve this, that is 3 raised to the power of 3 divided by 3 raised to the power of 5, you keep the base and subtract the powers, isn't it? Because the same base are being divided. So you keep the base, which is 3 raised to the power of 3 minus 5, which gives us 3 raised to the power of, this is 3 minus 5 is minus 2. Please, let me quickly explain this. How do we get minus 2? Always consider positive number as money you have in your pocket, and consider negative numbers as money you borrow from someone. So if you settle your debt from the money you have in your pocket, your answer will not depend on whether you have money left in your pocket or you are still owing. In this case, you have 3 naira and minus 5 means you are owing 5 naira. So if you give the 3 naira to the person you are owing 5 naira, it means you are still owing somebody, the person, 2 naira, which is what? Negative. And I told you, you should always consider money you borrow from someone as negative. So minus 2, 3 minus 5 gives us minus 2. Therefore, we can say that 1 over 3 raised power of 2 is equal to what? 3 raised power of minus 2. If you look at it, the same 3 raised power of 3 divided by 3 raised power of 5 gives us, that gave us 1 over 3 raised power of 2 is the same one that gave us 3 raised power of minus 2. Therefore, 1 over 3 raised power of 2 equals to what? 3 raised power of minus 2. In general, when you have a negative power, we can simply take the inverse of that negative, of that base all over the power. For example, if you have, let's say, a raised power of minus 1. In this case, the value of n is minus 1. What do? We take the inverse. Is the inverse of a. So that will give us 1 all over a, whereby the power of a is still 1. So you say 1 over a raised power of minus 1 will give us 1 over a. The same way, a raised power of minus 2 will give us 1 over a raised power of 2. So whenever you have a negative power, it's going to be 1 over the base raised to the value of n, which is what? 1 in this case, and the value of n is 2 in this case. So generally, when you have a negative power, it means the inverse of that base. So a raised power of minus n equals to what? 1 over a raised power of n, where n is an integer, a positive integer. So for example, simplify the following: a raised power of minus 5, y raised power of 4 divided by y raised power of 7, and c 2 over 3 everything raised power of minus 2. Let's look at the solution to these examples. Okay, a raised power of minus 5. You know, I told you you should always consider when you have a negative power, you simply write it as 1 all over the base raised power of the value of n, and the value of n here is what? 5. So x raised power of minus 5 will be what? 1 all over x raised to power of, what's the value of n? 5, isn't it? So that's our answer. So let's look at example 2. Y raised power of 4 divided by y raised power of 7. This is division, isn't it? And we have the same base being divided. What do? We keep the base and subtract the power. And what's the base? Y. Y raised power of 4 minus 7. That will give us y raised power of, remember I told you this is positive, minus 4 minus 7 will be minus 3. 4 is a positive number, which is money you have in your pocket. Minus 7 is money you borrow from someone. So if you give the 4 naira you have in your pocket to the person you are owing, it means you still be owing 3 naira, and money you are owing is a negative number. So that will be what? Minus 3. And remember, you have a negative power here. You write it as what? 1 all over y raised power of 3. Here, the same way, you have 2 over 3 everything raised power of minus 2. 2 over 3 everything raised power of minus 2. I told you you should write it as what? You considered everything you have in this bracket as a single entity, just like x here. So you write it as 1 all over 2 over 3 everything raised power of 2, which gives us 1 all over. If you look at the denominator, we have power of a quotient, isn't it? You use the power of each of the variable in the bracket to multiply the power. So that will be 2 raised power of 1 times 2. That will be 2 raised power of 2. That will be 2 raised power of 2 is 4 all over 3 raised power of 1 times 2. That will be 3 raised power of 2. 3 raised power of 2, that will be what? 9. Now, if you change this to normal division, so we have 1 divided by 4/9. You can change this division to multiplication. Remember, when you are dividing fraction, you change the division to multiplication. So we have 1/1 multiplied by. So when you change division to multiplication, you invert the fraction. That is, the denominator will come to the numerator and the numerator will come to the denominator. You invert the fraction, that will be 9/4. So our answer will be what? 9/4. So that will be, converting it to mixed fraction, that will be 2 whole number 1/4. Now I want to do something here. Please take note. When you have negative power of a fraction, in order to avoid going through all this stress, you simply invert the fraction to nullify the negative. That is 2/3 everything raised power of -2. Okay, 2/3 everything raised power of -2. Just like I said, to nullify this negative, you will what? You invert the fraction, isn't it? So that will give us 3/2 everything raised power of 2. 3/2 everything raised power of 2. That is to say, to nullify this negative, you invert the fraction. That is, the numerator will come to the denominator and the denominator will come to the numerator. So the negative will go. So in that case, we now have 3 raised power of 2, 9/4. Please, when you have a negative power of a fraction, invert the fraction to nullify the negative. Okay, thank you. So the next thing we are going to look at is the root law. Our next subtopic is root law. Okay, root law. The square root of a variable x can be written as this. The square root of a variable x can be written as this. We all know that square root of a number, the square root sign is this, isn't it? So the square root of x can be written as this. So if you have square root of x times square root of x, it will give us square root of x times x, which is equal to square root of x squared. So we have square root of x squared. The square root is the reverse of square, isn't it? The square root will cancel square and the square root of x squared will give us x. But we only know the square root of x squared. What about the square root of x? We don't know. So let the square root of x be, let square root of x equal to x raised power of n. So root x, square root of x times square root of x equals to what? Remember, square root of x is x raised power of n, and x raised power of n. That will give us x raised power of n times x raised power of n. But remember that square root of x times square root of x equals to x from what we have above here. So square root of x squared times square root of x squared will give us x, which equal to what? X raised power of, remember we have the same base being divided, being multiplied. What do? You keep the base and add the powers. That will be n plus n. Then we now have x equal to what? X raised power of 2n. Now this is an example of exponential equation. When you have exponential equation, which we shall be discussing later, when you have exponential equation and you have the same base, you can simply equate the power. The power of x here is 1, so the powers are equal. So we have 1 equals what? 2n. So to get the value of n, we divide both sides by 2. If you divide both sides by 2, then n equals to what? Half. But square root of x equal to what? X raised power of n, and we now know the value of n, which is half. Therefore, square root of x equals to what? X raised power of half. So meaning that if you are taking the square root of a number, is the same thing as raising that base by power of half. For example, if you have 2 raised power square root of 2, if you have square root of 2, square root of 2 can be written as 2 raised power of half. Square root of q can also be written as q raised power of half. But we also have, apart from square root, we also have other nth roots. For example, we can find the cube root of a number, we can find the fourth root of a number, fifth root, sixth root, seventh root, and so on and so forth. So meaning that cube roots of x can be written as x raised power of 1 over 3. Fourth root of a number can be written as x raised power of 1 over 4. Fifth root of a number can be written as x raised power of 5, and so on and so forth. If you also generally, if you have x raised power of the nth roots of a number, it can be written as x raised power of 1 over n, where this n determines the root you are finding, whether it is square root, whether it is cube root, whether it is fourth root, whether it is fifth root, and so on and so forth. And also, if you have nth root of a number, squared. Remember, this nth root doesn't mean square root. It can be square root, it can be cube root, it can be fourth root, it can be fifth root, isn't it? So it can be expressed as, remember, the nth root of a number can be expressed as 1 over n, right? So that will be, it can be expressed as x raised power of 1 over n, everything raised power of 2. Okay, so this will give us x raised power of 2 over n. That is multiplying, we have a power raised to another power, that will multiplying the power by this, so that will be x raised power of 2 all over n. So let's look at examples under root law. Okay, so let's look at some examples under root law. For example, if you have 4 raised power of half, 4 raised power of half can be remember, 4 raised power of half simply means taking the square root of 4, isn't it? You can easily express 4 as a number raised power of 2. What number will be raised power of 2? In order to nullify this square root, that will be 2 raised power of 2, which is 4, everything all over 1 over 2. So that will be what? Remember, a power raised to another power, you multiply the powers together. That will be 2 raised power of 2 times 1 over 2. 2 here 1, 2 here 1. So that will be what? 2. That is finding the square root of 4, which equals what? 2. Here we have 8 divided by 27, everything raised power of 2 all over 3. Remember what I said about negative power of a fraction. I told you, in order to nullify this negative, you invert the fraction. So if you invert the fraction, that will be 27 over 8. Everything raised power of what? The power, a positive power in this time. That will be 2 over 3. So now I can express this as cube roots, remember, I can express this as cube roots of 27 over 8 everything raised power of 2. Remember, 2 over 3 can be expressed as 2 times 1 over 3, and 1 over 3 means cube root. So cube root of 27 over 8 everything raised power of 2. So what is the cube root of 27? What is the cube root of 27? That would be what? 3. That would be 27 can be expressed as 3 times 3 times 3, isn't it? So the cube root of 27 is 3. All over cube root of 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. That will be 2. Everything raised power of 2. Okay? Everything raised power of 2. So we cannot have 3 raised power of 2. We have 9 all over 4. That will now give us 2 whole number. Converting it to mixed fraction, 1 all over 4. 2 whole number, 1 over 4. So this brings us to the end of this class. In the description of this video, I will post the link for you to access the practice exercise. If you enjoyed this video, like and comment, and also you can subscribe to my channel to get notified when a new video is posted. Thank you. See you next time.